ladies and gentlemen, this is Merry Minty and welcome back to my ASMR roleplay of Oblivion. Last time we left off, dear Hadrasil here had just defeated the seductive sirens who were basically pillaging married men by seducing them to their lusty farmhouse and robbing them at knife point, knowing full well the men would not squeal simply because they were married. And hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So now that Hadrasil has had a lovely good night's sleep, he was rather tired after fighting off those sirens. He's simply going to pop down here, see everyone's going about their daily business. He's going to have a nice sit down. He's going to enjoy a nice bread loaf. Not something we all seem to have at breakfast, but we'll pretend that this is perhaps buttered bread or buttered toast. I could imagine buttered bread would be quite nice in the morning. However, not particularly healthy for you. Not very good for your arteries and whatnot. And he's also going to have a pear. Get that one of his 5 a day in early on. A little bit of a sugar boost. Thank you, Wilbur, for, as usual, a lovely evening. And out we go. Hopefully another glorious morning as it was the day before it started raining. And it seems as though every time I boot up this game, the loading screens like to take quite a while to load. But that is not an issue. Oh, it's just teetering on the edge there. It's almost teasing me. Oh my, it's a very foggy morning. Look at that. Can barely see the shapes, the silhouettes of the ships and the lighthouse and the flags fluttering in the breeze. Flutter, flutter, flutter. So, dear Hadrasil here is going to head off for a little morning stroll. Now he wishes to leave Anvil as quickly as possible, but, of course, Hadrasil is looking for necromancers, and he had a little thought on the way back during the storm last night, after he'd slayed these seductive sirens, that perhaps the best way to find the necromancers is to go to the very place they're not allowed, aka the Mage's Guild. Now, his logic is that the Mage's Guild, from what he has heard, has banned all forms of the dark arts, including necromancy. But it could be that some of the mages in the Mage's Guild may just still wish to practice it. It's not to say they all agree with the Archmage. So perhaps by searching the Mage's Guild, he may find a mage who has heard whispers of the necromancers. At least that's what he hopes, but we shall wait and find out. Good morning to you.
Hello there. Is there something with which I can assist you? Perhaps you're curious about joining the Mage's Guild.
In actual fact, I was curious about joining the Mage's Guild. However, could you please tell me a little bit about Anvil? Actually, I do apologise everyone. Before we continue, I think... No, we're good. Okay, just had to check the volumes. Simply for editing purposes. Sorry, Cyrodiil, could you please tell me a little bit about Anvil?
The Anvil Mages Guild is proud to follow the example Hannibal Traven sets for us. Mastery and scholarship, free of the dark arts.
Well, Hadrasil certainly won't agree with Cyrodiil here. The dark arts are in fact quite important, he finds. And of course he's not a good mage, but he thinks the dark arts should be taught simply because how would you face the dark arts if you were a good person, if you didn't know how the dark arts worked in the first place? Sometimes things have a necessary evil, at least in Hadrasil's mind. Now, Caro, I would like to talk to you about joining the Mage's Guild, please.
As long as you're not a wanted criminal, there's a place for you in the guild. Are you interested?
I certainly am.
All right, then. You're now an associate of the Mage's Guild. Congratulations! You'll need to receive a recommendation from each local guild hall in Cyrodiil to advance in the guild and be given any sort of responsibility. They can be done in any order, but they must all be sent in to the council before you can enter the Arcane University.
Hadrasil was not overly impressed with the fact he has to now go to every single city in Cyrodiil and acquire a recommendation. However, he didn't expect it to be particularly easy to get into the Arcane University, so he will have to suffer it. Could you perhaps tell me more about this recommendation then?
Unlike some frivolous tasks you may be given at other guild halls, this is a serious matter and has consequences. Are you prepared?
I certainly am.
Then allow me to explain the task. The Council of Mages has entrusted me with resolving a situation along the Gold Road. Several traveling merchants have been found dead along the Gold Road recently, with even more missing. The Council has asked that I put a stop to it. You are going to help me do so.
Again, not particularly happy that he's being used as a pawn, but what a surprise once again, the people of Anvil seem to be completely unable to do their own business, but in fact have to hire others to do so. Please do carry on.
We believe the killings are the actions of a rogue mage. Battle mages have been sent to the Cross Inn, the only common link between the victims. You are to travel north to the Cross Inn and speak with Ariel Gerard. She will give you further instructions.
Could you perhaps tell me a little more about this rogue mage?
Some mages do not abide by the principles of the guild and operate outside its boundaries. Many hold little value for the lives of others. The frost burns found on the victims in this case indicate a mage was responsible for their deaths. Likely nothing more than simple robbery. These scrolls should provide sufficient resistance to frost magic when and if you do encounter this rogue mage. Use them wisely.
Well, thank you. Hadrasil had to look away for a little bit there when dear Cyrodiil mentioned about rogue mages. He, of course, is not particularly aligned with good, but then he's not particularly aligned with evil. He's a sort of in between, that grey matter, neutral, so to speak. Though I suppose, considering he does worship the Daedra, perhaps he's a little bit more evil. Could you tell me a little bit more about the Cross Inn?
The inn lies north of Anvil. Speak with Ariel Gerard when you arrive.
Okay.
She will give you further instructions.
And how about...
Do not let your guard down. We do not know whether the inn staff is involved somehow.
Okay. And how about the merchants?
It's a sad thing to think that a mage would kill helpless merchants for the wares they carry.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Cyrodiil. I've taken up enough of your time.
Good day.
Good day. Now...
Well met, guildmate.
Oh, hello. We hear other mages.
Fantastic. Thanks for asking. Great. Have you heard any...
Thorin.
I greet you. Thorin, journeyman of the Mages Guild.
Pleasure to meet you, Thorin. Oh, you do sell spells.
Have
Wonderful.
a look at my wares. I'm sure
Summon Scamp. We certainly will acquire that from you. And we will acquire Unlock Easy Lock and Ease Burden. And we cannot afford that. That's unfortunate.
Thank you for your patronage.
Thank you.
Be seeing.
Well, as much as Hadrasil would like to meet the other mages, he has a job to be getting on with, and the sooner he's out of Anvil, the better. Now, before we continue on, let us quickly change our hotkeys now that we have some new spells. That's perfect. Okay. I'm not going to equip Ease Burden yet because we don't really have enough to sort of use it yet in terms of weight capacity. I think Hadrasil is still able to carry a few more bits before he needs use of a spell. Well, it seems as though Anvil is the place to go when you are extremely helpful and want to help everyone, and people don't want to do their own damn business. Hadrasil is not overly impressed. He's been used as a pawn twice now, however. There's a means to the end, and he just has to suffer it for the time being. You're another one of those beggars, aren't you? We're going to just slip on by. And we're going to pop into the smithies quickly. Now, we picked up some light armour. I believe it was in... No, we didn't pick up any light armour. I was quite convinced we picked some up. Still.
Varel Morvain. Been making weapons and arms here in Anvil for 30 years. People say I do good work, and I don't aim to argue with them.
That's fantastic. Interested in bartering with you for exactly those items. Fur greaves, fur boots, fur helmet. All we'd be missing is the chest piece, which I suppose we could do without. So, Hadrasil's thinking is that he loves his lovely white mage's robes, but he doesn't wish to get them dirty. He should be using them for appearances only when he goes into cities, so he really needs some form of light armour for when it comes to walking about in the wilderness, so that he's protected, but also so he can get a bit muddy. So we are going to purchase these.
I let that go.
And we'll get one of you. Yes. And we will sell the Iron Cuirass, or Pinnerus's Iron Cuirass, should I say, since we don't particularly need that. And we will... we have Wit Splinter. I completely forgot about that dagger. So we'll get rid of these weapons, and I've just realised I really should have haggled. I've just went and sold for cheap and paid full price. That was very, very silly move. Schoolboy error on Hadrasil's part. Completely not my fault at all. Doesn't seem to be much else. Oh, used stuff. Hey, light armour. That must be like a shield. I think we should buy that too. 158 gold. Oh, steep price to be paying. Hadrasil's going to hold on to his gold just for the time being. Thank you. Pleasure doing business with you. Hadrasil would like to hold on to his 200 gold for the time being. I'm slightly worried though that... Yes, that was my worry. It seems as though without the cuirass, this outfit is not particularly workable. Unfortunately, the smithy didn't have a fur cuirass, so Hadrasil's going to have to stomach potentially getting his white robe dirty. Hopefully that won't be the case. And the beggar is definitely trying to get some gold from us. Luckily he didn't say anything. Oh, good, he's bothering the guard. Perfection. So off we go into the wonderfully foggy morning. The butterflies fluttering around. Flutter, flutter, flutter. Look at him go. As much as Hadrasil would probably like to capture him for some alchemical means, he has a task to be getting on with, and he'd like to get it done as quickly as possible. The last thing he wants to do is be in this dismal Anvil for any longer than he needs to. Seems as though the local Imperial Guard has set about a wolf. At least it's a quiet morning. No issues to be had, just a nice stroll up to the inn. And hopefully we can deal with this awful business of the rogue mage. Oh no.
Pay up, or else.
Excuse me? No. Take it from me if you can.
We can play it that way if you like.
Well, that is the way I'd like to play it. and I'm going to use my new spell to do so. Oh, this fellow's certainly not pulling his punches. I'm going to see if my dear scamp can finish him off. Apparently not. In fact, the scamp decided to leave me to it. But the final blow was landed. And aren't we very lucky? This one has a Fear Caress and a First Shield, and he had the boots. Perfect. Look at that. Full set of armour. I was quite lucky we came across you, dear bandit, or highwayman, shall I call you? We'll leave you slightly decent, but it's more than you deserve, quite honestly. So if we just heal ourselves here as we continue to walk. Seems as though these Imperials don't exactly have a firm hand on their villains, or what's the better word? Word I can't particularly think of for some reason. Certainly a lot of scumbags lurking in amongst the highways of Cyrodiil. Hadrasil was expecting the Imperials to have quite a firm grasp on crime, but apparently not. Is this where we need to be? Perfect, the Brina crossing, just where we needed to be. Make sure to close that gate. Don't want the horse escaping. Oh, it seems like a nice little inn. Nice and cosy. Good place to spend the night, perhaps. Going to make a save. Little safety save, just in case the game does crash. Hopefully not.
How do you do?
So,
Any news lately?
we're a merchant. We have to pretend we're a merchant. And we need to find a Ariel Jouard. Is this her?
So I've heard.
Come in order. No. Ah, there she is. Well, best let her finish her conversation.
I've heard others say the same.
Take care.
Greetings, High Elf.
Oh, God.
If you're on a road, you can usually outrun anything. If you're in good shape. And not wearing a tin suit.
Hadrasil feels a little awkward here, just sort of standing in the darkness.
Heard any news from the other provinces?
Nothing I'd like to talk about.
Take care.
You must. You just have to love the Oblivion speech system. Is fantastic. This woman doesn't seem to be leaving anytime soon. It's a bit frustrating.
Hi there.
Hi. Any chance you could leave? Don't particularly wish to speak to Ariel with you in the way. Well, I suppose we don't have much choice.
Hello there.
Hello.
Hello, stranger. What can I do for you? Cariel has sent you, has she not? Go and speak with Christoph. Rent a room for the night. Once you have your room, I will meet you there. If anyone asks, you are a travelling merchant, nothing more. Do not say otherwise to anyone. No, friend. I'm afraid I don't know the way to Shadin Hall. But good luck in your travels. Please excuse me.
Oh my word, was she for real there? That was terrible. Extremely covert, Ariel. Extremely covert.
Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Brina Cross Inn. Can I interest you in something to eat, or perhaps a bed for the night?
A bed for the night, if you please.
Let me guess. Traveling on business? You don't look like you're out for a stroll.
I'm a merchant, believe it or not.
Ah, yes, thought so. We get many of them traveling through here. Well, we used to. Haven't seen as many lately. What with the, well, you know, the murders. I don't like to talk about it much, as it's bad for business. At any rate, would you care for a bed for the night?
You say it's bad for business, and yet you bring it up. Wonderful. Yes, I'll take it, thank you.
Right then. The bed is just upstairs at the back of the inn. Sleep well.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Pardon me.
Oh, my word.
Did I hear you say that you're a traveling merchant?
Why, yes, you did. Very scary, High Elf.
Don't you worry, what with the recent killings and all? I'd be ever so scared if it were me. I haven't left the inn in days, just in case. Well, you take care of yourself. I'd hate to hear about another senseless death. Good luck to you.
Okay, she was rather slightly intimidating and also rather eerie.
What's your story?
Not one I'd like to tell you. Anyway, well, Hadrasil has rented his bed for the night, despite the fact it is only lunchtime. But he's going to do as he was told, and oh my, she's already walking towards us. She's extremely covert, this Ariel.
All right, it should be safe to speak here. Once you've rested here, you need to continue along the Gold Road, heading east towards Kvatch. I shall be following out of sight, along with a fellow battle mage. Make no attempts to speak to us. Trust that we will protect you. Should you be confronted by this cowardly mage, do not hesitate to protect yourself by whatever means possible. Once the mage has revealed himself, we will step in and settle a matter quickly. Now get yourself some sleep. You'll need to be well rested.
Hadrasil almost feels like his mother just scolded him. This Ariel is not only terrible at being covert, she is also mildly annoying. Still. Guide to Breville. Don't mind if I do. Well, it seems as though Hadrasil hasn't got much choice but to remain in his room. They're rather dark windows, aren't they? Can't be that late, can it? No. However, it seems to be. Well, what we're going to say is that dear Hadrasil here decided to remain in his room for the rest of the day and to simply read a book, thumb through the Guide to Breville, and think about his plans after this unfortunate task. He aims to go to the next city where the next Mage's Guild lies and hopefully acquire that recommendation. I spent the night at the Brina Crossing, and I need to follow the Gold Road towards Kvatch and be wary of anyone along the road. Okay, so Hadrasil here has had a lovely sleep. He hasn't much time for breakfast. He has a job to do, so he's going to have a nice little apple to keep him going. And as he has heard that this mage likes to use frost magic, he's going to equip himself with the lovely spell that Cyrodiil gave him. Goodbye, thank you for the room. There'd be the battle mages. Perfect, ready to go. Well, there's nothing left to do now but to travel up the road and hope that the rogue mage will appear. Hadrasil doesn't particularly understand why this rogue mage would be attacking merchants. Most of them don't really carry much of value. Seems rather pathetic. But each to their own. What are you doing here? Excuse me?
I'm afraid your journey ends here, traveler. I'll be taking whatever you're carrying. After you're dead, of course. I do hope it's more than the last few had. They were most disappointing.
Oh my, so it was you all along, was it? At least the battle mages have arrived. We're not alone. Zephyr ran right past her. Need to summon another scamp. This mage is rather strong. Oh dear, I hit one of the battle mages. I need to talk to Cyrodiil in Anvil and inform her that Camille has been defeated. Or at least the battle mages were helpful. Apologies for hitting you, Roleplay. So, what do we got? We have a key, strong healing potion, strong sorcery potion. Not bad. Seems as though the battle mages aren't particularly in the mood to talk, so Hadrasil's just going to completely bypass them.
Hello there.
Ariel didn't even turn up until the battle was practically won, so he's not particularly in the mood to talk to her. If it wasn't for Roleplay, he may have had to take a few more seconds to kill the rogue mage. He isn't quite sure how those two are battle mages. They didn't particularly put up the best of fights. Hadrasil almost feels he won that single-handedly. Still, the rogue mage has been defeated and another task successfully completed. And Hadrasil is one step closer to his Arcane University entry. And with any luck, the whisperings of the necromancers. Seems to be a rather blistery morning. Bit chilly. He's actually quite glad he has this fur armour on. Otherwise he'd probably be quite cold. However, he's hoping that once he moves past the coastline here in Anvil, the weather might perk up a little more sunshine, maybe some good thunderstorms in the evening. Ah, what's that? Arrow roots. Well, we'll certainly partake in a little bit of that. Despite the fact we didn't manage to pick any, perhaps the petals are too brittle. Ah, we managed to get a little bit there. It's a little bit harder to pick in third person, but amazingly the butterflies aren't affected by the winds. Very strong flyers apparently here in Cyrodiil. Ah, look at that, the guards even have the gates. Did you close that on purpose? It's rather rude. Still. Hopefully we have some form of reward for defeating this rogue mage. I mean, after all, it's the Mage's Guild's fault. At least Hadrasil believes so. Must have come from their guild. So really it's their own issue. The fact that they had to have an associate clean up after them is a little bit embarrassing. Just going to do another safety save here. Hello, Cyrodiil. That mage has been defeated.
So, what of the rogue mage? Has he been found?
In fact, it was a she.
A she, you say? And she's dead. Well, Ariel and Roleand did what needed to be done. No more innocent deaths. At least for now. You have done well enough for yourself. I'll pass along my recommendation to Raminus. Though I must say I doubt it will do you much good in the end. You'd be surprised how easily they forget about the little people.
Was that a little stint at Hadrasil's height?
Farewell.
It's because Cyrodiil is a high elf. He also wasn't very impressed with her that he has done well enough. And the fact that Roleand and Ariel did what they needed. In fact, they did nothing, I'll have you know, Cyrodiil. It was all my doing. These mages are most unappreciative.
Hello, guildmate.
Oh, hello there, Sparky. Hello, Thorin. Fellow elf. So, before Hadrasil goes, now that he's an associate, he can reap the rewards of being a Mage's Guild member and take a couple of alchemical pieces of equipment, or chemical equipment, which means that he can finally do some potions. However, he's not going to partake in any of those now. The day is still young, and he would like to get to Skingrad by the afternoon. Although Hadrasil, it's more like Singrad. He has heard that Skingrad is one of the wealthier places in Cyrodiil, and if his experiences where he comes from have taught him anything, should I say, is that the wealthy often delve into the most of sinful of activities. So he's expecting Skingrad to be no different. He's not quite sure what he'll find. Probably a lot of gluttony. Maybe some lust. Then again, Anvil has had its own dose of lust as well, so he's quite prepared to come across it and face it head on. Although perhaps this time he won't have to kill the seductresses. Still, despite the breeze, seems like a rather nice day to be out for a little jog towards the next city. Hadrasil's just hoping that the next Mage's Guild recommendation will be a little bit less of a... what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more asking of his talents. Not something as patronising as defeating a petty little rogue mage that attacks weak merchants. He can't quite understand how the Mage's Guild could let such a pitiful mage run amok. But still, he's going to forget about that. Continue on down the path, and perhaps we'll just listen to the bird songs for a little bit.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Seems as though the battle mages didn't bother to dispose of the body. It's a little bit unprofessional of them. Seems as though we have a... what's this? A ginseng. We didn't find anything of use. That's quite irritating. Pretty sure you can make a nice tea with some ginseng. It's one thing that Cyrodiil seems to be lacking currently. A good brew. As any discerning British person would say, a cup of tea is... I'm not quite sure where I was going with this. But a cup of tea is crucial, at least once a day. Seems we have some other plants here. We have another ginseng. We have some bergamot. You can also make tea with that, if I'm not mistaken. Captain Picard, I believe, used to enjoy a nice bergamot tea hot. Or was it Earl Grey? I can't quite remember. It seems as though we have another inn. The Gotshore Inn. Well, it's nice to know it's here. It's nice and tucked away. Don't particularly need it currently, but perhaps in the future we will need to use it. Skingred is this way. Let's continue on. Seems to be quite a lot of aloe vera grown here in Anvil. You would pick up some more, but he's got quite a lot at the moment. This road is rather long, isn't it? Hadrasil noticed that Kvatch wasn't on the list of Mage's Guilds for recommendations, so he's going to completely bypass Kvatch for now. If it doesn't have a Mage's Guild, then there is no sense in currently visiting, simply because he is hunting down the necromancers, and that is currently all that's on his mind. He has heard whisperings, but nothing more. He's dying to get a little bit more of information. Seems as though perhaps the poorer of Kvatch are camped outside. So much for the Imperials being rich and wealthy. I seem to have quite a few plants here. Primrose, fennel, lady's mantle, cinnabar polypore, flax, and oh, was that? I just picked up some dragon tongue. Oh, fantastic. It's quite funny, I'm coming across it quite a lot now. When I used to play this game on the Xbox 360, it was one of the most difficult plants to find. I'm still convinced it is for a particular quest. The weather seems to have taken a dreadful turn, and Hadrasil would like to be out of the rain as quick as possible, simply because he's wearing fur, and fur doesn't do too well in the rain. It's going to be soaking wet before long. Where's an inn when you need one? There's no sense in turning back. He's probably likely to come across another one soon enough, in just as much time as it takes to return to the Goshot, I think it was called. So it sounds like the birds are quite happy in the trees. And Hadrasil himself does love a good storm. It's very relaxing. And the pitter-patter of the rain across the pebbles. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter, pitter-patter. Oh, I think we have another highwayman. Should be prepared. Wow. Okay. The scamp proved himself worthy today. Didn't take him very long to put that highwayman to rest. The weather seems to be taking a very odd turn. 1 minute it's foggy, the next minute it's raining. Not quite sure why. Hadrasil wasn't quite sure why either. Perhaps the Imperials have upset the Daedra. We have another wolf. Well, Hadrasil can take care of that on his own. No sense in wasting magicka and conjuring an imp for no reason. Peonies? Not sure what you can do with peonies. However, Hadrasil was not very successful in picking them. Perhaps certain alchemical ingredients need slightly more skill at cutting. Seems to be a couple more peonies here. We got a little bit lucky, we've got a couple there, which is good. I'm not going to go around picking every plant we come across, we'd be here all day, but it's nice to have a couple of each. So a little bit of an alien ruin there. Left over from years past. At least the storm has subsided. Very... what's the word I'm looking for? Very uncontrollable weather. Seems to be a tent here, perhaps it's some travelling merchants. Should go and check, see if they have anything to trade. Oh no, we have what looks like bandits. A hedge wizard, interesting. Well, we made short work of those, that's for sure. Unfortunately, she has nothing of value, although the grey robe may come in handy, so we will take that. We have a lockpick and fur armour. How very frustrating that Hadrasil went and paid for fur armour when he could have collected it for free from the highwayman. Ah, a chest. A brief history of the Empire. Little light reading perhaps this evening. We will use our new acquired spell to open up this chest. Nothing too much of value, but still. It seems as though a rather large alien ruin lay ahead. Now, Hadrasil would be almost silly to completely bypass this. Now, he knows quite well about the aliens, since they are, well, they were very well known to his ancestors, and they were very strong in the magics, and any... I'm at a very large loss for words this episode, but any chance at acquiring new powerful spells or perhaps hidden mysteries, anything, maybe even loot that could be sold for quite good value. at a high price would certainly be in Hadrasil's interests. So he thinks what he's going to do, as he seems to have dispatched the people of this camp, the highwaymen, the occupants, should I say. I keep finding the words just after I've said another word to replace them. He's going to take a little rest from his walk in this tent, and then in an hour or so he's going to head straight into that Aloe ruin and hopefully find some mystic treasures or whatnot. But I think this is the perfect time to end this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you felt relaxed or sleepy, or I've just helped you, soothed you. Still at a loss for words. But other than that, I hope you've enjoyed it. You take care. Have a lovely day, evening or morning. And until then, I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.